We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football. Everything. Because we love everything in college football. The drama. And if you do as well, please subscribe to this ever-growing channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we're coming on live, because we can come on live at any time. We can drop an episode anytime. We can drop an early peek membership episode anytime. We did it this morning. We gave people an early peek of the breaking news that just happened. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. PATC community, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. In the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show, the portal is buzzing. I am terrified. I am scared. I am scared. I said when the transfer portal started hopping that I would bring the a blanket in here so I can hide under it. I guess I'm going to wait for December 4th when it gets really real, when it becomes official. Anyways, look, transfer portal is a buzzing. And we're going to start out with the big news. The big news. But if you have this, if you have an early peak membership for this channel, you would have seen episode number 5 dropped early this morning. It was about the smoke, the rumor, the innuendo, that's how we called it. Will Howard going into the transfer portal. We talked about it this morning, short little episode. We wanted to give the PATC community the early peek on what was just right around the corner. And it happened. Just before we came on live, news breaking, Will Howard, Kansas State quarterback Will Howard has entered the portal as he grad transferred. The Athletic has learned 4:06 p.m. 4:06 p.m. and we gave it to you. We gave this early peek to you this morning. We also said in the early peek episode, you can get it with an early peek membership. We also said, look, both sides, Kansas State, their future is now Avery Johnson. And the other side of this coin, Notre Dame, there's interest from Notre Dame. We talked about it in the early peek episode, number 5 this morning. And sure enough, at 4:11 p.m., 40 minutes ago, Pete Sampson, Irish, Notre Dame fighting an Irish beat writer. This is a big one. Notre Dame needs a quarterback. And Howard, who was a captain at Kansas State, checks a lot of boxes. That's what we talked about in the early peek episode number 5. So those who had a membership, who watched it, you saw it coming. Notre Dame, they're looking like they're going to be going in the transfer portal, just like they did with Sam Hartman. They have Angeli looks like he's the young guy who might be able to be taken over next year. But man, it sure sounds like Notre Dame wants to do this one more year because they got they got Carr, a big time high school quarterback coming in this year as a true freshman. It's going to be Carr's team probably in 2025. 24 is the first year of the expanded playoffs. Marcus Freeman, they went 8-4, 9-3. They want to go 10-2 or better next year. They want to make sure they get to the playoffs. I think they're going to be targeting Will Howard. There's a few other names that they could target, but we know there's interest on both sides. Kansas State, Avery Johnson, Will Howard going to the portal, Notre Dame looking possibly to target Will Howard. Again, we talked about all that early this morning, like a 4 or 5 minute episode, early peek episode. Hit the join button if you want to become an early peek member, so you can get this early peeks on recruiting and a whole lot of other stuff we're doing, added content to what we're already doing here at Peek Around the Corner. So we already went through that. We went through that big news early this morning. Let's get back to what happened last night, late last night, in the early morning hours. Coach Elko, Mike Elko is your new head coach of Texas A&M. We talked about it, SEC experience. He was the defensive coordinator of Texas. He knows the state of Texas. The high school coaches love Mike Elko. I thought Stoops, Mike Elko would be a great pickup. I also thought Lane Kiffin would be as well. Mike Elko, the new head coach at Texas A&M. I'm giving Texas A&M a grade of A. A grade of A. The only reason I'm not giving this an A+, I would have liked to see Mike Elko do it again at Duke. Do it for that third year. Do it. What's going to happen to Riley Leonard? Is he going to stay at Duke? Is Riley Leonard hopping into the transfer portal? I haven't heard anything, but keep an eye on that as well. And here's Mike Elko's contract. If you want to take out your magnifying glass and check it out and take a look, basically the basic is the annual base salary is $7 million a year. So it's not a Jimbo Fisher contract. It's not a Jimbo Fisher type of contract, but it's a good contract. And then, of course, it has all these incentive compensation plans. You can read that. You can, you can go back in the show later on and look at that if you want. There's a couple other, a sneaky little contract extension for SMU. SMU's head coach, Lashley. SMU's going into the ACC next year. Their first year in the Athletic Coast Conference, the ACC, with California, with Stanford, and they have agreed to a multi-year extension. Rhett Lashley, SMU, terms of the deal were not disclosed. SMU is a private school. Remember, we were told, ladies and gentlemen, the PATC community, we were told that SMU is not going to be getting any type of media money, right? I don't know how many years. First 9 years of the ACC? 8 years, 7 years? So they're going to be getting all this money from their big, massive, rich donors to ride them through. The donors came up and they're making this work. And they made the whole expansion piece work for the ACC. And now they're investing in the coach, the head coach, probably the whole staff. They did a multi-year extension with Lashley. Good move. Good move. Good move for SMU. Another move here. This happened last night, early this morning. Oklahoma offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby, Brett McMurphy, Action Network, will be Mississippi State's new coach. Source told Action Network. Mississippi State targeting Lebby, first reported by Ross Dellinger. Now, there was reports out there that Mississippi State was targeting Jamie Chadwell. Again, Jamie Chadwell is not interested. He's not interested. He's had plenty of opportunities to land a Power 5 job. Jeff Lebby grabs it. The Oklahoma offensive coordinator, Jeff Lebby, pretty interesting. Mississippi State, pretty interesting. Jeff Lebby he knows the state of Mississippi from his past. And then we know we got the transfer portal, right? We talked about Will Howard. There's information coming in constantly. Here's one that came in late today. This afternoon, Baylor's quarterback, Blake Shapen. I like Shapen. Now, I think he's probably declined a little bit. When was it 2 years ago? He played in a few games. He came in as a replacement, and man, Shapen looked sharp. I still think if he gets in the right situation, I think he can produce. I think he can produce. He has at least 1 year of eligibility remaining. He might have another year. He started 23 games for the Bears, as reported by Pete Thamel. He's looking to compete for a starting job at a winning program. Now, Oregon State. I know there's a few people who put some Oregon State information into the chat. You got Martinez, the running back, going into the portal. You also have Oregon State. They have to backfield Jonathan Smith. They lost their great head coach, Jonathan Smith, to Michigan State. Dennis Dodd reported early this morning a name to keep an eye on for Oregon State's new head coach is San Jose State's Brent Brennan. Now, Brent Brennan name has popped up. This is not the first time his name has popped up for a Power 5 or Autonomy 4 conference team out there in the West. And his name is being popped up again here. Justin Lucas, yes, Greg, CBS reports that SMU's new pool of money for assistant coaches is going to be well within the top 25 highest paid assistants. Oil tycoons equal big money. So there is, and things are breaking right before we came on. Right before we came on. This is not the first report of this. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something here. We're going to treat this as a rumor. Smoke all wrapped up into an innuendo burrito. Just kind of like the Will Howard smoke that we gave you in an early peak episode, membership episode early this morning. There is another rumor that is swirling on a quarterback going into the portal that a big time, big helmet school might be targeting. And I'm going to show you one report. But there are other reports out there. I know there's one behind a paid site. I can't show you it. But before we get to that one, I want to thank everybody who has come in early into our program, into the chat room. Heartbreak 25, I finally made it on time. Good for you, sir. Randy Taylor, hey. R Web, holy smokes. 12 Duck 72, keep your head on a swivel. Member, early peak member, 12 Duck 72. Nice to see you. So, Will Howard of Notre Dame, Farmageddon broke him. I don't know if it broke him. I think, look, Kansas State's going to go with Avery Johnson next year. Bottom line. So, Will Howard wants to play another year to improve his NFL stock. He's done everything. He's had a great career at Kansas State. So it's pretty natural. I think it's a natural thing. Matt, not a freaking chance we grab Malik Murphy from Texas. McCord going into next year 11-1. The world is not over. Matt is touching upon the rumor, the smoke that we're going to hit on here in a few moments. John Coy, I figured Howard would go pro after the season. Don't think so. I don't think so. Noah, I'm doing good. How you doing? John Coy's in the house. Jared Jones, Mr. Buckeye, Joe Z, thank you. He's in the house as well. Members, Jared Jones, Joe Z, Expedition Greg. I saw that report. Chris Tyree is now in the transfer portal. The guy's a tweener, right? I don't know, not really a receiver, not really a running back. He has a lot of experience, has played a lot of snaps. Supposedly Notre Dame is ready to go with their young guns full force next year at the wide receiver position. We'll see. We'll see how that works out for Chris Tyree. But yes, that broke right before Raleigh Brown is in the transfer portal from USC. Keep your head on a swivel, everybody. Keep your head on a swivel during this live show. Let me know in the chat what is breaking. Things are breaking every 10 minutes. Now, what are we talking about? What is this? We hit the Will Howard. We hit the Will Howard information at Early Peak episode 5. For those who are members, you've seen it, you saw it, you were not shocked later today when it happened. Will Howard going in the transfer portal, and there is fighting-itis smoke within that Will Howard story. But here's another one. College football report, and this has been, this is not the only place that people are talking about this. Okay? Rumors are swirling around that the Ohio State Buckeyes may dabble in a Malik Murphy potential transfer. Murphy is the backup quarterback to Quinn Ewers at Texas. He was a top 10 quarterback recruit in the class of 2022 and started 2 games for Texas this season in light of Ewers' injury. Malik posted a 2-0 record, 465 passing yards, 3 TDs, 3 interceptions, 56% completion percentage. Got in a little bit, got his feet wet. Top 10 in the 2022 high school class. Look, we do not know at this point what is Quinn Ewers' decision on if he's going to come back for another year or if he's going to go in the NFL draft. If you've heard something recently, let me know in the chat or with the phone call later in the show. And you also have Arch Manning, the 3rd string quarterback. This is a tough spot for Malik Murphy. This is one of those situations where it seems like he should probably jump in the portal. Right? Ears might come back another year, and if he doesn't, Arch Manning's probably going to get that spot. I mean, this is a tough spot for Malik Murphy. So let's speculate. Let's just speculate that Malik Murphy does go into the transfer portal. Of course, he's going to be looking at some big-time NIL money. He is a big-time prospect. Big-time prospect. Not a Quinn Ewers, but just a step below that. Kyle McCord. Now, we already saw a comment by Matt in the PATC chat supporting McCord, saying he went 11-1. Did the Buckeyes see enough of Kyle McCord? Did they see enough development? Do they see a high enough ceiling when it comes to Kyle McCord? Do they see a high enough ceiling? Is he going to develop? Is he going to raise the bar? Is he going to raise his standard? Does his ceiling get higher? That's the question. But this is not the only place that I have seen this rumor today. Malik Murphy, transfer portal. He's going to have suitors. Now, for me, just because Malik Murphy goes in the portal, and let's say just because he goes to Columbus, that doesn't mean he's quarterback number 1 there. It means that the Buckeyes are willing to have a competitive spring, competitive August, a competitive atmosphere for the QB1 position going into a vital 2024 season. Malik Murphy, at the very least, can provide all that for Ryan Day in Columbus. Let me know if you agree, disagree. Let me know if you think there's no chance of that happening. The rumor that's swirling around is absolutely bunk. Let me know. Let me know what you're thinking. Hummus Hero says Kyle McCord clearly has elite potential. Some of his throws this season were unbelievable. It's all about consistency and decision making. Thank you for the comment. Great comment, Hummus Hero. Obsidian 75. Can't see Manning going to a Big 12 school from Texas. SEC or the Big 10. Manning's got a decision as well. Any more sources saying the same. UCLA is retaining Chip Kelly for 2024, even after that embarrassing California loss. Well, I would say this is Monday now. This is Monday. If you haven't pulled the trigger on firing your head coach, by this point, you're probably not going to do it. So those sources are probably correct. There is no advantage to waiting longer than today to pull the trigger. There's no advantage to it. No, I'm not saying there's not going to be any possible firings tomorrow, release of a head coach tomorrow, but I think we're almost pretty much going to shut the door on any more movement. So it looks like Chip Kelly is going to stay for the first year UCLA entering into the Big Ten. Arch could start for Kansas State. I don't think so. I think Kansas State is Avery Johnson. That's where the NIL money went to. They put a heavy investment in Avery. Avery Johnson is their guy. I don't think Arch Manning, if he leaves, no offense to Kansas State, but if Arch Manning's going someplace, he's going to a helmet school. Kansas State, very successful. 2 years ago, Big 12 championship, but Arch Manning's going to go somewhere where Expedition Greg, I think Arch Manning will leave Texas. We've covered that. Blake Shapen has entered the transfer portal from Baylor. He was their quarterback. Thank you, Expedition Greg. We did cover that. Reported by Pete Thamel, ESPN. Jared Jones. Kyle McCord to Iowa would be fantastic. I don't think McCord, look, no offense to Hawkeye fans out there. No offense to Immaculate. But Iowa's going to have to, well, they're going to have to change their offense a little bit. Who's going to be their offensive coordinator? They're not going to be in the hunt for a Kyle McCord or a top-tier quarterback. They got Cade McNamara. That was pretty good. And he's coming back next year. But Kyle McCord is not going to Iowa. Nobody like that is going to Iowa until... First of all, we got to figure out who Iowa's coordinator is going to be. Right? So I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to open up the phone lines here. I'm not going to waste any time. If you call in, of course, you can talk about anything college football. But I really want you to tell me, during the phone call, I'm going to ask you, who, what position, what type of player, and you can give me a name on who your team should go after in the portal. Let me know during the phone call. If you don't let me know on the phone call, I'm going to ask you before you hang up. Who do you think should be the target? What position? And you can give me a name if you got a name on who do you think your team should target in the transfer portal. The number is 763-260-1333. That's the number, 763-260-1333. You can see it on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. You can see it on the top of the chat in a pin message. That's the phone number. Give us a call. Give us a call. Do not be afraid to be a legend. And with your phone calls, Jared Jones, Greg, I will let it be known I'm not a McCord fan. Well, he's been getting a lot of heat. Ryan Day's been getting a lot of heat. I know your expectations are real high up there in Columbus or down there in Columbus. But man, oh man. Tony, thank you for the super chat. Is the Greek squirt gun in the portal? No, he's not. No, he's not. However, Tough Tony, I've got good news for you. For the first time ever, since PJ Fleck has been the head coach of the Minnesota Golden Gophers, the first time in 7 years, the Minnesota Golden Gophers have offered a quarterback in the transfer portal. First time. So that is how desperate we are. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm laughing. We're desperate. I think it's pain that causes me to laugh. We're desperate. So we offered Brozer is his name, the quarterback, the leading touchdown passer in FCS from the great football school of New Hampshire. That's our offer. 6'2". He's got one more year of eligibility. He's in his master's program, biomedical something or another. I can't even pronounce it other than study it. Biomedical medicine, blah, blah, blah. He's a genius. He's a smart kid. His families are doctors. It looks like the University of Minnesota, with all their medical stuff, research, that's what the school's built on. It might be the correct fit for this cat. The University of Minnesota is not going to be spending NIL money on inducing people to come into the program. They're going to spend whatever NIL money they have, the collective Dinkytown Athletics, on the players that are already there. So this guy, if he's the right fit, he's interested in the Masters, biomedical, whatever. Minnesota might be the right fit. If he can come in and give the Greek squirt gun, the Greek rifle, eighth in Cadillac Manis, if he can give him competition and depth, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I did say New Hampshire, baby. I did say New Hampshire. Speaking of, early today, if you missed it, it's not about New Hampshire, but it's about a school up in the New England area. A school up in the New England area. If you missed it, episode 336 after this live show, give it a watch. Delaware. Boom! The Delaware Fighting Blue Hens. It's going to be official soon. They're going to be going to Conference USA. Conference USA is expected to add Delaware as a new member for the 2025-26 season. The sides have been in talks, and the decision is expected to be formalized in the upcoming days. Brett McMurphy also reported Delaware moving from FCS to FBS and joined Conference USA in 2025-26 school year, sources told Action Network. Delaware would be the first FCS school required to pay $5 million application fee to move up to FBS. Previously was $5,000. So when Jacksonville State jumped from FCS to FBS Conference USA last year, they had to pay a $5,000 application fee. When Sam Houston Bearcats went from FCS to FBS last year, they only had to pay a $5,000 application fee. This is the first year. If a school makes a jump, if there is a landing spot for them, they have to pay a $5 million application fee. And that is what the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens did. Now, my eyes were on, and so was Delaware. They were playing both sides against each other. MAC, Conference USA. Conference USA, MAC. Conference USA stood up and said, you become, looks like they've got an agreement in place. I did make a mistake in episode 336. It was pointed out to me by somebody in the comment section. And that is what's so great about the PATC community. You guys are always correcting me, so I have to take the L on this one. In episode 336, I said, oh, look at Conference USA. They're 9 members, right? And here comes Delaware to make it 10 members. Well, it's really, Delaware makes it 11 members. Kennesaw State is also coming in to Conference USA. So they're going to have 11 members. So that brings up the question of, is there going to be a 12th member to Conference USA? If there is, you would have to think that UMass is a big contender. UMass being a travel partner, New England up with Delaware. I think UMass again, MAC, Conference USA, MAC, back and forth, playing one off the other. Is the UMass Conference USA flirting going to turn into dating? Is it going to turn into a marriage like Delaware, the Fighting Blue Hens, and Conference USA? We'll have to find out together. So that was also breaking news today that we covered in episode 36. So if you've missed it, episode 336, Delaware Fighting Blue Hens. And if you missed it, early peak 5 for members only. We talked about Will Howard, Notre Dame, 8 o'clock this morning. And it broke 4 o'clock this afternoon that Will Howard is going in the transfer portal. Just got to hit the join button, $5.99 a month. Become a member of Early Peak. Jared Jones. Greg, I just saw the Gophers are going bowling. Oh, I got something in Minnesota going 5-7 and going bowling is not the most embarrassing part of the story. The most embarrassing part of the story is I stayed up and on my phone was watching the results of Hawaii versus Colorado State because the last spot was going to be either Colorado State Rams beating Hawaii Rainbow Warriors and going 6-6 and grabbing the last spot, or if Colorado State loses, Minnesota 5-7 would take the last spot because we had the highest APR among all the 5-7 schools. So when it was 24-16, it looked like Hawaii was going to win. It looked like Minnesota was going to grab that last bowl spot. But then out of nowhere, Colorado State scores a touchdown. They get a 2-point conversion. But then Hawaii comes back. The kicker's running onto the field. They hit a long field goal at the very last second when the game clock ran down. 50-some yarder. Hawaii wins. Minnesota going to a bowl, 5-7. It sounds like they're going to play in the Quick Lane Bowl. Most projections, Detroit. And it sounds like most projections, Brett McMurphy, Jerry Palm, one other, somebody in ESPN. One of those two guys on ESPN, Schlabach, whatever his name is. It sounds like they're going to be playing the Ohio Bobcats, the MAC. And I've got a I've got a cousin whose son is on the Ohio Bobcats coaching staff. So, Minnesota versus Ohio, the Roney family, my mom's side of the family, going to be rooting for Ohio Bobcats. So, if that happens, of course, it's not official. We're not going to know if it's official until Sunday, but it could get a little dicey around here in the studio. Minnesota versus the Ohio Bobcats. Kenneth Maynard, maybe Liberty could be moving to the AAC. That's what most of the fan base would like. I would not rule that out. I definitely would not rule that out. That cannot be ruled out. And it's not just about their 1 year success. They're not a Conference USA. They're not a Conference USA school in reality. Especially like 5 years from now, 7 years from now, 10 years from now. Their resources, what they have in place, and what they're going to have in place is so much more than what the Conference US, the other schools are going to have. So, Liberty, we'll see what the future holds. AAC is probably the spot for them. I'm not sure the Sun Belt's even a good spot for Liberty. We'll find out. But that Liberty, does the AAC? I gotta look something up here real quick. I'm having a mind block here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, see, if you look at AAC, Tulane, Louisiana, they're losing SMU, UTSA, Memphis, South Florida, Texas, Navy, North Texas, Birmingham, Florida, the Carolinas, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Carolina, and of course Liberty, Virginia. I mean, it's the perfect spot. Definitely would not rule out Liberty to the AAC. In fact, I would probably just go ahead and I don't have any intel on it, but I would go ahead and predict that it's going to happen eventually. Is Army in the American a done deal? Great question, Tony. I think it is, right? I think it is. Fighting Illinois, Ted. The AAC is probably waiting for the Pac-2 to sort itself out and make sure it's just Mountain West Conference and none of their schools. Very good point. Very good point. And I think it's going to take a while. I don't think the window is there yet for Liberty, but I do understand them being looked upon as a future AAC school. A lot of big conference championship games coming up, guys. It is. Let's just take a look here. Let's just take a look. Go ahead and give us a call. 763-260-1333. The phone lines are open. If you want to support the channel with a donation, hit the $ with your comment. We'll get you a comment right away. Smash that like button if you like our content. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe now. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Make sure you get notified. This channel, we pop up at any time. We can pop up late tonight, early tomorrow morning. We can have a PATC breakfast show. So make sure you hit the notification bell. New Mexico State Liberty. Man, oh man. 6 o'clock. Friday night, December 1st. Now. It's at Lynchburg, Virginia. Liberty, Williams Stadium. It's at Liberty Stadium. Wouldn't it be fantastic if this year was the expanded 12-team expanded playoffs? We're all looking at who's going to be the 5th highest ranked conference champion to get the automatic berth. This game right here would get more eyeballs on it than ever before. This game right here, New Mexico State at Liberty. Shoot, even because you have this Liberty versus Tulane versus Toledo, who's going to be the highest ranked G5? Tulane's got the inside track. But you also have New Mexico State. If they beat Liberty, Tulane loses, Toledo loses. New Mexico State is the champion. They beat Auburn, for goodness sake. I'm so excited about the 12-team playoff next year. It's the one thing that this sport that I love so dearly, as you can tell, they got this nailed correctly. The 3 tiers of incentives. Top 4 conference champions get an automatic bye. The next 4 get the home game at their campus if they want it at their campus, or they can choose another stadium in the first round. And of course, 9, 10, 11, and 12, they get into the playoffs. New Mexico State Liberty, Friday night. It's going to be a fun game anyways. Jamie Chadwell versus Jerry Kill. Oregon, Washington. Now, of course, we're not going to have the Pac-12 next year. But Oregon, Washington. Oregon wins this game. If Oregon wins this game, they're getting in. They're getting in. I think they're getting in. I'm not sure why they wouldn't. Michigan, Georgia, Florida State. If Oregon wins this game, they're getting in. And of course, if Washington wins this game, they're getting in. The winner of this game, getting into the playoffs, in my opinion. Texas, Oklahoma State. Now, I believe Texas needs something else to happen, some other chaos to happen. They need a Michigan to lose. They need a Georgia to lose. They need a Florida State Seminoles to lose. I do think Texas has an outside shot. Alabama, Georgia. Chaos will reign supreme if Alabama beats Georgia, Texas beats Oklahoma State. Who do you have, Texas or Alabama, in the playoffs? I would have Texas. So in other words, I don't know, man. In other words, you might not even have an SEC team in the playoffs. Does that sound crazy? Probably. But I don't know how you put Alabama ahead of a Texas, even though Alabama beat Georgia. Texas beat Alabama in Alabama. That has to mean more than anything else when you're comparing Alabama and Texas resume. For me, personally. So these games have great meaning. SMU Tulane, again. G5 representative for the New Year's Bowl. And then, of course, is an example of what we're going to have next year. The top G5. There's got to be the top 5 conference champions are going to get an automatic bid. And there's going to be 4 autonomy conferences. So the 5th one is going to be either from the Sun Belt, the Mountain West, the AAC, the MAC, the one of the 5 G5 conferences in Conference USA. Michigan and Iowa. This is probably, unfortunately, the least interesting championship game of the weekend. Louisville versus Florida State, ABC. Again, Florida State, there's going to be a couple teams early in the day. They're going to be rooting for a Louisville Cardinal upset over Florida State and their backup quarterback, Rodmacher. So it is a lot of, it's going to be a lot of excitement, man. A lot of excitement. Holy smokes. Kenneth Maynor. Could you imagine Liberty versus Notre Dame's New Year's Six Bowl? Holy smokes. Notre Dame is 9-3. Notre Dame, I don't think they can get there, right? Not this year. Now, Kenneth Maynor, I can see a Liberty versus Notre Dame playoff game next year. Maybe even East Carolina Pirates next year, right? Right? East Carolina. Thank you so much for the super chat, Kenneth. I appreciate the generosity you've given us, helping us keep the lights on. Thank you, Mr. Maynor. Appreciate it very, very much. I don't think Notre Dame... Let me take a look real quick here. Let me take a look. Let me take a look at our favorite bowl prognosticator, Brett McMurphy, Action Network. He's got Georgia, Florida State, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, Tulane in the Peach Bowl, Washington and Alabama in the Fiesta Bowl, because he's got Oregon beating Washington, right? And he's got Florida State beating Louisville. He's got Georgia beating Alabama. So that's his playoffs. Penn State, Tulane, Peach Bowl. He's got Tulane being the highest ranked G5. Alabama, Washington. Because Washington loses to Oregon, Alabama loses to Georgia. This is Brett McMurphy, Action Network projections. The Orange Bowl, the Buckeyes versus Louisville. And everybody has that projection. Unless there's real big chaos, this basically you can use pen, not pencil. The Cotton Bowl, Texas, Missouri. Ooh, Arlington, Texas. Again, Texas next year becomes an SEC team. The Citrus Bowl, Ole Miss, Iowa. ReliaQuest Bowl, Notre Dame, LSU, January 1st. So they do have Notre Dame January 1st game. So January 1st, ReliaQuest. It's not the orange, it's not the cotton, it's not the peach, it's not the fiesta, and it's not the sugar, it's not the Rose Bowl. So they do have them up there, but not... I think 9-3 is... You know what? I don't think 9-3 is really all that acceptable for Notre Dame fans this year. I mean, Notre Dame actually went out. You know, Notre Dame has a hard time getting needle movers in the transfer portal. Usually they just go after grad. I think they have a history of only going after grad students. Sam Hartman was the perfect get for Notre Dame. And they still could not get the offense at a high enough level to produce. And again, it goes back to the wide receiver room. They just can't get the juice on the outside. Let's put it this way. Notre Dame hasn't had a Rocket Ismail in a very long time. They just don't have the juice out there. Maybe they do next year because they do have some promising freshmen that did do something this year. Expedition Greg, I think Louisville will beat Florida State. Ooh. The Seminoles feeling that anxiety. Are they feeling that anxiety? Louisville Cardinals.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up.
Tony says, I believe Louisville will be in the Orange Bowl, win or lose. I think you're correct. I think that's pretty much in pen. And I think the Buckeyes in the Orange Bowl is pretty much in pen. Unless we get major chaos and they sneak into the playoffs somehow. Tony, I thought Notre Dame only needed to be bowl eligible to make a New Year's Six bowl. Again, phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Let me just check if there's any breaking news, and I'm sure there is. Connor Happer. Nebraska's, he has his podcast, radio show, does a great job. Like listening to him. Portal is hot. Now, I use the word portal is buzzing. That's the name of our live show tonight. Portal is buzzing. Connor Happer, portal is hot. That also works. Let me just check. Mike Elko, introductory celebration at Texas A&M. That's Mike Elko, introductory celebration at Texas A&M. Texas A&M Aggies got their guy. College football, baby. College football. It takes college football. That's all I got to say. Let me see if there's any other Bruin report online. Chip Kelly will remain at UCLA. I think that's pretty obvious right now because if it would have been done, it's just getting too late in the game to be getting rid of your coaches. There's reports Will Howard could be looking at not just Notre Dame, but Mississippi State. We all know that Mississippi State's Will Rogers has officially entered the portal as a grad transfer. He's going to have a few offers. I got to tell you that. He's going to have some options. And then earlier in the chat room, this was reported. USC freshman receiver Raleek Brown confirmed that he's planning to enter the transfer portal. Brown was ranked number 64 overall in ESPN's 300 last year. Number 64 overall. He flipped to USC from Oklahoma after Lincoln Riley was hired. So Raleek Brown looks like he's going in the transfer portal. Again, Coach Allen, Indiana Hoosiers, was fired. Indiana looking for their new head coach. Could it be Sean Lewis, who was the offensive coordinator for Colorado? Yeah, he did a great job in the MAC conference, Sean Lewis. Or maybe, possibly Jason Candle, head coach of Toledo. A couple of candidates for Indiana. Yeah, I think that John Gruden rumor lasted about 30 seconds. Tony, I don't think John Gruden is a serious candidate. That was kind of shot down right away. Tony, the A&M video reminded me of the German beer halls when I lived there. That looked as bad as Woo Pig Suey. Thank you, Steven. Notre Dame lost their center to the portal. Again, the phone lines are open, 763-260-1333. Just going to quickly go through the stories that we've done today. Delaware moving to the Conference USA. They're FCS. In fact, they won the first round 36-34. This Saturday, they're in the second round of the FCS tournament. They're playing Montana. They're playing at Montana. They're the underdog. Delaware Fighting Blue Hens moving to Conference USA. It could be formalized in the next couple of days. SMU They agreed to a multi-year extension with Rhett Lashley. SMU going to the ACC next year. They made sure they locked up their head coach. SMU, they are in the AAC championship game versus the Tulane Green Wave. The last year for SMU in the AAC. And then the big news, big coaching news, Mike Elko. Welcome him back home. He was the Texas A&M defensive coordinator for 4 years. Very successful head coach of the Duke Blue Devils. Duke now is looking for a new head coach. Duke looking for a new head coach, and what is going to happen? What is going on with their quarterback? Highly productive, successful quarterback, great athlete, Riley Leonard. Is he going to go to the NFL? Stay at Duke? Or is he going in to the transfer portal? And then we talked about this in our early peak episode number 5. We dropped it in early this morning. Will Howard, a lot of smoke going to the transfer portal. There seems to be interest. A lot of people expect Will Howard to be targeted by Notre Dame. This was broken at 4:06 p.m., but we covered this story on early peak episode number 5. If you're interested in becoming an early peak member, hit the join button. You see the join button there. Hit it and be a member of early peak. Now, I was very, very high on Baylor last year, 2 years ago, 2022 season, because this cat, Blake Shapen, showed me a lot in late 2021. But the season went pear-shaped in 2022. It went pear-shaped again in 2023. Dave Aranda is coming back for 2024. But Blake Shapen, he's not coming back in 2024. He has entered the transfer portal.
Call from
Lewis.
Lewis
Hello,
is back on the line. How you doing, sir?
Well, I'm good. It's just, but I tell you, it's getting tougher and tougher to adjust to really what college athletics has become, which is just completely pro sports light now. I mean, it was inevitable it was going to happen, but there's just so many horrible stories that happen, and some good stories too, that we just didn't have growing up or following it with all of the moving around with the players and the NCAA. I do think eventually the NCAA is going to be extinct. The top schools are going to just leave.
Yeah.
But that's a few years down the road. But wanted to discuss, first of all, the situation with Duke.
Yes, sir.
And Mike Elko. And, I mean, it was obvious, to me at least, several weeks ago, the moment Jimbo was fired, there was a good chance Duke was going to lose Mike Elko. So I'm hoping that Nina King, the athletic director, who's a pretty bright AD, I met her a couple weeks ago at a game.
Okay.
And, Bright made the decision to hired Elko, managed through the Coach K transition with Shire, and also Duke has a lot of other success with sports. I'm hopeful they have a list and they have some idea of which way to go, because otherwise it starts to become, with transfer portal, you can lose pretty much all your team. And that might be the case anyway, no matter who you hire, but you got to hire somebody quickly. So the frustrating thing is that I thought Elko was going to leave, but it appears he was not the first choice, at least to some people. But there was such a backlash for the first choice that then he became the second choice. The money he's making is not the Jimbo Fisher money. It's actually an amount that's more in the stratosphere. The issue is that with Duke, people go to Duke for the academics, and we have one of the best basketball programs in the country. People don't go there for football. Any success in football is gravy. Now, they've invested a lot of money in football, but it's not expected to be a success. But now you worry about whether they can even have a team, and this happens to several teams. When you lose the coach, you worry about having a team that can even protect themselves on the field next year if they can't get the players to replace everybody that's going to leave. And so that's the main issue. And then from the Elko standpoint, he goes to A&M. He's not getting paid. He doesn't have that huge guaranteed money, so he won't be able to buy a Caribbean private island if he fails. And I think he will fail. I think he will fail because the expectations are too high. He could win 8 games a year in the next 3 years, and they're going to want him out. Yeah. But the problem with A&M is, in this new 16-team SEC, they are solidly the 9th best program historically. Solidly. They're nowhere near the top 8. The top 8, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Auburn, Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, and Texas. A&M's not even in the same playing field, those 8. They're probably the best of the next group. They're a step ahead of most of everybody else, but they're not in the top 8. And I don't think, short of hiring Saban or Kirby Smart, they're not going to get there. And they're not going to be happy if they can't beat Alabama or Georgia or Texas or Oklahoma or some of these, or LSU or some of these other teams. They're not going to be happy with 8 or 9 wins. They want to win it all. And that takes more than just money. It takes a culture. It takes an attitude. It takes certain things that A&M just never had. Now, maybe Elko changes that. He obviously knows what he's doing as a coach from his success. I just don't think he can. And I think in 3 or 4 years he'll be out of a job and they'll be looking for somebody else. Yeah. But from the standpoint of Duke, my biggest fear is losing the players, and so an assessment probably has to be made about how you try to keep that from happening if you can do that. If that's the case, maybe there's an argument that you wouldn't necessarily have in the past to hire from within. I don't like hiring from within. When Steve Spurrier left, and Steve Spurrier is the last coach to leave Duke for a stepping stone situation, which is pretty remarkable. That was in 1989. Duke hired a gentleman named Barry Wilson. He was atrocious. I was leading a campaign when I was at Duke to get rid of him 3 years in, because I could tell the guy didn't know what he was doing, and he was fired after 4 years. Barry Wilson, promotion within. So that's one option. Otherwise, I hope they look at Kurt Signetti. I see that could be a good fit. He's 61 years old. I mean, Duke, unlike a lot of programs, they could either go with a young coach and prepare if he's successful that he'll be gone in 2 or 3 years, or they try to get someone older like Cutcliffe, who was older, and they try to – so Kurt Signetti would be someone that should be the top of the list, I would hope. He's proven success, but he's also 61. So 4 or 5, 6 years, he could triple his salary from what he's making at James Madison. Now the fan base is small at Duke. He actually probably has more fans in the stands at JMU than at Duke. But Duke's a Power 5 school or Power 4 school. So I hope they look at that. But Cutcliffe made Duke a decent job. It was not a great job when Cutcliffe took it. It was a disaster. And he made it a decent job. Elko came in, had success. I think 2024 is likely to be a 2 or 3 win season. But with the right coach, they can get back on track. But I hate to see what happened. I don't know why Elko had to leave in the middle of the night. That's just something people don't forget. When you do that, it didn't have to happen. Just say goodbye to your players at 8 or 9 in the morning in person. Say goodbye to whoever wants to show up, and you get on the plane and leave and have the press conference in the afternoon. Why do you have to fly out in the middle of the night? It looks bad. But at the end of the day, I don't blame him for leaving. It's a lot more money. It's a lot more opportunity. It's what this business is about. Yeah. And hopefully Duke will survive. I just hate seeing what happens at transfer portal. I saw it happen to West Virginia in basketball, where Huggins, had his issue. They fired him, and then now the program is out there playing with 7 players, only 2 of which are legitimate players that should be playing at this level of college basketball. And they have 5 players that don't even belong on the court. Yeah. And yet they're trying to field a team. It's just a situation that is you didn't have this before, and I think they're starting to, of course, change some of the rules, and that actually hurt West Virginia, hurts other schools about the number of transfer portals. They have to get under control, or if not, then there'll be some self-regulation. But it's a big business. I mean, Delaware today paying $5 million of an entry fee to move up to FBS, which I think is a good move because there's not a lot of college football in that part of the country. No. They're situated in a good place. But it's just all about money, and it's a little bit disappointing to see that. But at the end of the day with Duke and the football program, I mean, the program that matters to everyone at Duke is basketball.
I got a couple comments and one question for you. Okay?
Sure.
First of all, look, Lewis, Duke gave us some great entertainment this year. They played some great football. They upset Clemson. They gave Notre Dame a fight. Riley Leonard got hurt, got nicked up, and then he got really injured. And that hurt the program, obviously. But
it did, yeah.
But Duke,
we could have had a special year.
Duke was a fantastic watch this year, just like they were the year before. Great job. And you made the comment like it's getting to be like pro sports. It's actually becoming not even really pro sports, because pro sports isn't wild, wild west like this, right? This is why I believe contracts are going to be happening here in the next couple of years with the student athletes. They're going to be represented by some group, some union, somebody's going to represent the student athletes, the conferences and schools. They're going to be giving these student athletes direct compensation. In return, these schools and conferences are going to be looking for some stability, to the point where if you lose your coach, you don't lose. You're not under the threat of losing half of your team in the portal, because these players are going to be under contract. Just like the sport, just like professional sports, right? You don't lose half.
We're not there yet, though. We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. It's a couple years down the line. My question to you is, what's the buzz on Riley Leonard? Staying, NFL draft, portal, what's going on?
It's all rumor and conjecture, nothing official. I believe firmly he has played his last game in the Duke uniform. I think it's gone. I think he's gone from Duke, and so where he goes from there, I don't know that I care where he goes. I mean, there's been a lot of. I don't care because if he goes somewhere else, he's probably again with a new coach. I mean, I've heard Notre Dame thrown out. I've heard some other schools thrown out as potential places he might go, or he might go to the NFL. I mean, the injury hurts him. And the injury was devastating. I mean, Duke could have had that special one every 30-year type of season. We didn't get it. That's the one regret I have about Elko is that he's obviously a good coach, but at the end of the day, what Duke got out of it, they got some great games earlier this year until he was hurt, but not that great bowl. They got we're going to get two cold weather minor bowl appearances, but that's just how it worked out. And Elko probably would have been here next year if not for A&M. I don't know. A&M. I don't know if he was the first choice or not, or how that worked out. But I don't think Elko would have left Duke for anybody because Duke can certainly afford to pay a coach. They can't match the kind of money and the kind of incentives and the kind of investment in NIL and the assistant coaches that an A&M can. And so that's my biggest regret. But I think Riley's probably gone. But we had Daniel Jones before. We've had other quarterbacks. Duke manages to attract players. It's a certain kind of player. It's a player to some degree, if they're not NFL players and they're solid college players, are getting a chance to get a degree from one of the best universities in the country, be part of that great network of Duke student athletes, which is great for these players to tie into. So it's a certain kind of athlete that comes at Duke. But again, it's gravy. When they do something, it's gravy because for decades, Duke didn't even have a program that even had a pulse. So it'll be okay. It just was frustrating how it kind of went down after it appeared that perhaps we were safe, and then sure enough, it's gone. And then the real devastating impact I've now seen with West Virginia basketball and Duke football, you lose the coach, you really run the risk of having a situation where you have a team that can barely compete. And that's what's tough. And it hurts, you lose fan interest, you lose it, you just kind of tune it out and follow something else when that happens. And so I hate to see that happen. That's likely what's going to happen next year is the cupboard will be bare just because of the players they're going to lose in the portal. And yes, if they do reform it and coach and players are paid and then can stay through a coaching change, that's going to help tremendously. But we will see what happens. It's going to be an interesting week with who makes it into the playoffs. We're 1 year too late from the expanded playoff. We really should have had it this year because it looks like there will be quite a bit of controversy over who the Final Four will be. There will be some teams that feel like they deserve to get in that won't, and we really haven't had that in a while. So it's going to be a crazy time. Yeah. But we still love it, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. And we'll see what happens in the future with realignment, too. I think that's over for a few years, but I'm sure it'll come back again before we know it.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate the call, Lewis.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure. I wanted to chime in a little bit, and it's great to hear you. Great to talk to you. Have a great holiday season.
Yeah, you too, Lewis. Thank you for calling. Mr. Blue Devil. Fantastic. Lewis, legendary PATC caller. Loves when he calls in. Duke Blue Devils, they were a tough out this year when they were healthy. They got beat up. Riley Leonard got beat up. A lot of who knows what's going to happen there. Lewis thinks, he's probably not coming back to Duke, whatever, but who knows if he's going to the NFL. I think he's an NFL Sunday quarterback. I think he can become one. He's an athlete, man. He's a dog too. I mean, he's a fighter. I like Riley Leonard. Yeah, a lot of people in the chat talking about who's going to be there at the Black Friday game historically for the Big Ten. It's not going to be Minnesota and Wisconsin. Minnesota's already the historic Thursday night game to open up the season. They're not going to be a historic Thursday and a historic Friday. Minnesota and Wisconsin's always that afternoon game. I think they got over 5 million views again this year. as well. Someone can look that up, but the way more views than they should have gotten because it was a horror. Minnesota doesn't have a. Gophers don't even have. They're running out true freshman players all over the place on defense. They're not. I don't know why you all were watching that game, other than, it's the longest. It always gets a lot of views. Wisconsin, Minnesota, people like to watch games in the snow. It was snowing a little bit again in Minneapolis. Corey believes that one of those rivalry games could be playing on Black Friday along with Nebraska and Iowa. That makes a lot of sense. It's not. I don't think it's going to be Oregon and Washington, though. I think that might be the third leg of a triple header on that Saturday rival. Ohio State, Michigan, noon. The 2:30 game's going to be a rival game. Minnesota, Wisconsin always play in that slot, but it might not be on the, on like CBS. It's not going to, maybe if those two teams are having a great year, or one of those teams are having a great year, but Oregon and Washington probably going to be the third leg of a triple header. It won't be Michigan State, Penn State. Well, Penn State doesn't have a permanent rival game. That's the problem with Penn State. Anyways, I'm going to get back to making sure there's no breaking news here. Got to keep your head on a swivel. I know Oregon State is scrambling to find their new head coach. But, it's difficult because you don't know where. It looks like it's going to be Oregon State's going to be an independent program next year. Part of a two-team conference, but really independent in nature. Scheduling with the mountain. It's a tough situation. It's a tough situation. Next year, like Brian Murphy, who covers the Carolina schools, right? North Carolina State, North Carolina. Look what he just said this. Just looked at a drop down for ACC teams. It included California. This is still going to take some time getting used to. So many changes in college football next year. It's going to be absolutely nuts. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Yeah, 2019, 2021, Minnesota, Wisconsin drew over 5 million. I think they did really good this Saturday, and I'm not sure why. But Rick Olsen, go Vikings. They play tonight, I guess, against the Chicago Bears. When will USC hire Phil Parker? Maybe when Kirk Ferentz finally gives up the head coaching job of Iowa. Phil Parker should win the Broyles Award, the defensive coordinator of Iowa. He should win the best assistant coach in the country award, which is the Broyles Award, best coordinator. Phil Parker, he better get it. He better win it. Iowa goes 10-2. What are they? 130th in the country in offense? Last in the Big Ten in offense? Yeah. A lot of Indiana Hoosiers have entered the portal. No question about it. Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback, He was a good quarterback this year. This was his first full year starter. I think he had like 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 57% completion percentage, somewhere around there. Sorsby was really good in his first year. He's going to get offers. I mean, not big offers, but he's going to get to a Autonomy 4 conference school. Brendan Sorsby. In fact, I think there's some steam, Cincinnati, University of Cincinnati in Sorsby. I don't know if Sorsby's from Cincinnati or from Ohio, somewhere around. There is some steam with Sorsby and Cincinnati. That'd be a great pickup for Cincinnati. Great pickup for Scotterfield. That would be fantastic if that would happen. Sorsby is in the transfer portal. I'm telling you what, he was better. He was miles ahead of the Greek Rifle at Minnesota. Tell you that right now. Hummus Hero, California and the ACC feels odd in general, but Stanford playing Duke and Wake Forest somehow seems right. Great comment. Great comment. One thing to consider, Chris Hughes, one thing to consider is I'm pretty sure Texas and Texas A&M will be Black Friday. Ooh. That is a very good point. It's not going to be Texas Tech. The SEC matchup of Texas A&M every Black Friday. That is a great point. Great point by Chris Hughes. That makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, we covered that. Thank you, AAR. We covered that. Blake Shapen in the transfer portal, looking to compete for a starting job at a winning program. Again, early this morning, I don't know, we dropped it about 9 o'clock this morning. Early Peak episode 5. You get it with an Early Peak membership. It's just $5.99 a month. Hit the join button. We give a little bit of nugget of information from time to time, giving you the early peek for college football's peek around the corner. We also talk recruiting. We talk about stadiums, renovations. We talk about rumors, smoke, and also nuggets of information. This morning, episode 5, we dropped the information, the smoke, the innuendos around Will Howard going in the transfer portal, and Notre Dame possibly targeting Will Howard. And this, we did it on the Early Peak episode early this morning. And then late afternoon, the news dropped. Kansas State quarterback Will Howard has entered the portal as a grad transfer. This is the big one. Pete Sampson, Notre Dame's beat writer. Notre Dame needs a quarterback, and Howard, who was a captain at Kansas State, checks a lot of boxes. This is exactly what we covered on Early Peak episode number 5 this morning. So if you want to become an Early Peak membership, hit the join button in our college football YouTube channel. become a member and watch for the early peak episodes to drop. We've already dropped 5 of them. I didn't think we'd be dropping this many in how many days? 9 days? Only 9 days since we started the early peak membership. We've gotten a whole lot of members already. We thank you for your support. This is the 5th one we dropped, and of course, we talked about Will Howard and Notre Dame, and then 7 hours later, the Will Howard part happened. Entering the transfer portal. We'll see what happens with the Notre Dame part. Florida State, Joe Z, member. Florida State has shown they are a deeper team than we thought by having to evolve and adjust. Yes, I agree. And, it's going to be interesting to see if they enter in, now if they go to the college football playoffs, and I think they will, they're going to be that 3rd or 4th seed. They're going to be playing Michigan or Georgia. Florida State looks pretty physical, and they are. I mean, Trey Benson, the running back, Bell, the tight end. I mean, they've got some, besides the skill players of Johnny Wilson, of Keontae Coleman, who's physical as well. They've got some guys who, on defense, on offense, they play a little bit physical brand of football in the ACC, more than the usual ACC school. We'll see what it compares to if they do play that Michigan, if they do play that Georgia. Because those two teams, they're going to pound on you. They're going to pound on you. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. A great comment, Joe. I agree with you. That's not why it's a great comment, because I agree with you. But I agree with you. Let's put it that way. Fighting Illini, Ted. Speaking of Indiana, do you think Tom Allen resurrects his career somewhere? He's going to have to take a step down if he wants. If he wants to be a head coach, he's going to have to take a step down in the G5. But yeah, I don't think, he got paid so much money. And I don't know for his exit. And I don't know how much of that is mitigated if he takes a job somewhere else. He seems like a guy, Tom Allen seems like a guy who would want, I shouldn't say who would want, I think, he may get an offer for some sort of TV job, right? Some analyst job. I think he likes to talk. I think he has that personality. I think he'd be more of a natural than like Dan Mullen, who's gotten better. So maybe we see Tom Allen popping up on our TV or on our iPhones and what have you, talking about college football. Kansas State Wildcats lose their second quarterback. Jake Rubley will transfer. The Avery Johnson era. I haven't heard any reports of any Gopher the Gophers got killed in the transfer portal last year. Decimated in the back 7. And we can't get decimated in the back 7 this transfer portal because we're already decimated. I mean, what are they going to do? Our true freshmen who are all playing, they're all going to go in the transfer portal? So we can't get hurt any more than in the back 7. But I don't want to see any of our D-line leave. I don't want to see any of our offensive line leave. I don't want to see Zach Evans or Darius Taylor, 2 great freshman running backs who are both injured. I don't want to see them go in the portal. If Darius Taylor, now he's got his foot in a boot. He's going around in a scooter on campus. If that cat, the guy who won 3 Freshman of the Week awards of the Big Ten this year, if Darius Taylor goes in the transfer portal, you're going to see the fat guy from Minnesota, a grown man, just bawl his eyes out right here at college football's peek around the corner. I'm scared. I am petrified. Breaking, which is starting to make sense. Sources close to Texas have said the coaching staff expects Art Manning to be number 2, fueling the Malik Murphy to Ohio State rumors. Yeah, we've covered that earlier. Yeah, Malik Murphy. If he hits that transfer portal, you can look at the Buckeyes possibly being a candidate. Nate Johnson's entered the portal. Max Johnson has entered the portal. Now, Nate Johnson's got, 3 years of eligibility? And I think Max Johnson's got 1 year of eligibility. And I think Nate Johnson, it's going to get more interest from people. Kenneth Maynor, North Carolina State's backup quarterback, M.J. Morris will likely transfer. The thing about the Hamas Hero, geez, the portal's even crazier than last year. Didn't think that was possible. The thing is when your coach, when you have a coach that gets fired, you've got a 30-day window to enter the portal. That supersedes the rule of you get one, as a student athlete in football, you get one free entry into the transfer portal before you become a graduate student. In other words, you don't have to graduate from university to go in the transfer portal. You got one free transfer. You also, though, have a 30-day window. So what's happening is a bunch of coaches get fired. All their players have a 30-day window. A new coach is coming in. You know you weren't recruited by the new coach. You know you could have value in the market, transfer portal market. You had a decently successful season. And so the student athletes are taking advantage of this transfer portal. A great example is Brennan Sorsby, Indiana's quarterback. He wasn't even supposed to be the starter this year. Well, I shouldn't say that. But they have another guy who is supposed to be progressing, developing, Jackson. Sorsby has a really good year. First year as a starter, really good year. But his head coach gets fired. Indiana Hoosiers can't stop anybody on defense. Sorsby, yeah, he made a couple bad throws that the fans didn't like, but the guy had to get the Hoosiers to score every time they touched the ball. You're forced to make bad throws. He still had a good season. Statistically, he looked good, and now he goes in the portal because he knows he looked good. He knows he's going to get an offer. He knows there's a spot there where he can go where, Sorsby has no idea who the next Indiana head coach is going to be. And whoever they bring in, that head coach probably has somebody in mind to bring in, right? A guy whoever that new head coach is, could be bringing their head coach, their quarterback from whatever school that they were head coach of, or somebody they're currently recruiting, or somebody they know who's going to be popping in the transfer portal. So Sorsby would want to go to somebody who wants him, who recruited him in the portal. That's why a lot of these guys are entering the portal. They want to see if they are wanted. They know they are wanted. Instead of staying with the team in which the head coach, you don't know if the coach really wants you. The new coach did not recruit me. It's a little bit different with Mike Elko, Texas A&M coming in. I don't think Texas A&M, I do think they lost a receiver in the portal. But I don't think they're going to lose many guys. That's a whole different situation. But that's what happens. That's what happens when you lose a coach. Okay, so we do have some breaking news. And we have some notable 2024 SEC matchups, the dates of the game. Breaking news, peek around the corner. Miami, Florida, at Florida, August 31st. Notre Dame will play Texas A&M 31st. I think we knew that already. Right? Tennessee, Oklahoma, September 21st. Texas at Texas A&M, November 30th. So that's the Saturday game. Correct? Alabama, Oklahoma, November 23rd. Texas, Arkansas, November 6th. Alabama, LSU, November 9th. I think a lot of those are new. We didn't know that. Chris Lowe, ESPN. So Alabama and Georgia are scheduled to meet in the first month of the 2024 season on September 28th in Tuscaloosa. So they are coming out with the dates of the game, not just the matchups, but the actual dates of the game. Just going through here. The Egg Bowl rivalry, Mississippi State and Ole Miss, will remain at season's end on Thanksgiving weekend. That is not changing. Alabama will close the season next year. At LSU, November 9th. At Oklahoma, November 23rd. And at home against Auburn, November 30th in the Iron Bowl. So anyways, those are some of the games. Some of the dates of the SEC game for 2024. Murphy would look good at Oregon. Malik Murphy. Thank you, John Till, for the super chat. But Oregon has a guy ready, correct? I keep the Duck fans and the Husky fans keep telling me. Of course, I keep forgetting the names. I should put it on a post-it note in my studio. But Oregon and Washington fans are confident in the next wave of their high school class, the guys that they recruited already, that's already in the program. Oregon and Washington are set up. Or maybe I'm wrong, John. Maybe I'm wrong. Thank you for the super chat. Murphy, look good at Oregon? Possibly. Possibly. Thank you so much for your continued generosity to this program. It sounds like they came up with some dates. ESPN just broke this, Jared Jones. They came out with some dates of some of the games. I'll put it up on the screen. There it is. Alabama at Tennessee, October 19th. Alabama LSU, November 9th. Alabama at Oklahoma, November 23rd. Maybe they've come out with all of them tonight. But we did get an answer here. Texas and Texas A&M game is not, at least in 2024, Texas Longhorns, Texas A&M Aggies. The rivalry is back. The game is not a Thanksgiving game. It's not a Black Friday game. It's a Saturday game. Same day as Alabama and Auburn. So keep that in mind. At least for 2024, Texas A&M is not a Black Friday game. It's not a Thanksgiving game. It's a Saturday game the Egg Bowl, Mississippi State, that is still the Thanksgiving game for the SEC and all of college football. Okay, going to check. Phone lines are open, 763-260-1333. And I'm going to take a quick look here. Got to keep your head on a swivel because that news just broke. Breaking news every time we do a live show. Florida, the Gators are parting ways with 2 defensive assistants as Billy Napier has to make some changes. He's going to get year 3. Billy Napier at Florida is getting his year 3, but he had to make some changes in his coaching staff. Oklahoma will make its SEC. Oklahoma will make its SEC debut against the Tennessee Volunteers on September 21st in Norman. Volunteers head coach Josh Heupel returning to his alma mater. Heupel returning to his alma mater, Oklahoma. We talked about Max Johnson earlier. He's going to the transfer portal. He's got 1 year of eligibility remaining. Nate Johnson's also going in. Blake Shapen's also going in. Will Howard is also going in. A lot of quarterbacks. Also, Brendan Sorsby, Indiana, he's also going into the transfer portal. And that's just the beginning. The transfer portal doesn't open up for most people until December 4th, first day, when it really opens up for everybody. There's rumors about Cam Ward, Riley Leonard, don't know. We do not know Mr. Bob Dolan. We did ask Lewis, a legendary caller, Mr. Blue Devil, PATC Blue Devil. He doesn't know either. He doesn't think he's returning to Duke. Sounds like either NFL or going in the portal. Okay, we're going to wrap it up, our live show. Again, we had to cover it tonight. The portal is going crazy, and this is almost like the calm before the storm. The storm hasn't even happened. The official opening of the portal doesn't happen until December 4th, just a few days away. But we're already getting reports. Guys are jumping in there. Guys who are either graduate students who can officially jump in there now, or players, student athletes who are on teams in which they've lost their head coach, they're jumping in the portal. A whole bunch of Hoosiers have jumped in the portal. A lot of things going on in college football. We talked about Delaware, the Fighting Blue Hens. They've made it into an FBS conference. They're in the FCS conference playoffs right now. They're in the FCS playoffs right now. They won their first round game 36-34. They play in round 2 Montana. But 2025, 2025, the Delaware Blue Hens are joining Conference USA. We covered that story. Will Howard, transfer portal, Notre Dame. Buckle up, brace for impact. A lot of stuff's going to be happening this week as we go into Conference Championship weekend. Friday, Saturday games. Holy smokes. And next year, it's going to get even crazier. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner. I appreciate the phone calls, the super chats, the new members of the early Peek members. Appreciate you all. If you're new to the channel, if you like the content, smash the like button. If you like this channel, hit the subscribe button and make sure you get yourself notified. Hit the notification bell because we can come up at any time during the night, morning, new time. We could be dropping episodes, live shows, and of course, if you're not a member yet, if you missed the early Peek episode number 5 of early this morning, when we talked about the Will Howard going in the portal, Notre Dame targeting Will Howard, we talked about that at 9 o'clock this morning. It broke nationally at 4 o'clock this afternoon, but we broke it early Peek. So if you're interested, hit the join button, become an early Peek member. I thank you all for your support. Stick with us here during the week. We're going into conference championship weekend. This is it, baby. Florida State getting into the playoffs. Washington, Oregon. Michigan, how badly are they going to beat Iowa? And the Georgia Bulldogs, are they going to shut the door down on Alabama Crimson Tide? Jerry Kill versus Jamie Chadwell. Holy smokes. Buckle up. Brace for impact the next time we see you. I hope you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very, very much. See you next time. Thank you.